In my photography on location videos, I often go out camping by myself, and while I'm out there, I talk about cameras and film and composition and all things photography related, but I rarely talk about the equipment necessary to get me there and to keep me safe and comfortable while I'm out taking photos. So in this video, I wanted to do a little walkthrough of all the gear I take with me when I go camping and cover a few things that I think every photographer shouldn't live without. So let's start with the vehicle itself. This is a 2016 Toyota 4Runner Trail Premium Edition. I bought it new and I'm still paying it off. It has about 77,000 miles on it or something like that, and I plan on driving this thing into the ground. I love this car. I think it's a fantastic design. It's very capable off-road, and you can't go wrong with Toyota reliability. So I love this car. Although the new Ford Bronco is tickling my fancy a little more than I'd like it to. So this poor girl may be replaced by a Bronco one day. We'll see. I've done some modifications to it, nothing real heavy. You'll find as we go through this, there's a recurring theme, which is when it comes to modifications for my car or camping, I'm kind of cheap because what can I say? I like to spend my money on film and old cameras. So I wanted to do a little bit of a lift on this just so I'm not knocking against everything on my skid plate when I'm off-roading. And I didn't want to go full suspension lift because that's like thousands and thousands of dollars. So I did the poor man's lift, which is just spacers on the suspension, and it gave me a 2-inch lift, which is fine. I don't want to do anything real crazy. This is my daily driver after all, so I still want it to ride pretty comfortable and I don't want it to completely destroy the mileage. I put all-terrain tires on it, BFGs, all-terrain TAKO2s. I really like these tires. I think they look great and they ride pretty good. They go off balance pretty easy. That's the only complaint. And I didn't go with a bigger tire size, although I wish I had. So when I go to replace these, I'm gonna go with a little bit bigger tires. I installed a bunch of lights on the car. I did it myself. I'm very proud of that because I'm probably not qualified to be doing that. But along the top, I have 4 rigid LED lights, 6 inches wide. The 2 in the center are driving lights, so those shoot way down the road. The 2 on the outside are floodlights, so they illuminate the bushes and trees off to the side a little better. And then behind the grill, I have a big 30 or 32 inch rigid light bar. And again, that has driving lights in the middle, which shoot way down the road, and floodlights on the side. The combined of all these, which are all on the same switch, they light up the night, man. It's like daytime when I flick that switch. So really cool lights. I like them a lot. On the side, I have a camping light on either side. So a little 3-inch rigid LED, one on each side, and that's to illuminate. Like when I'm doing hairpin turns, that helps a lot to see where the edge is. But also when I'm camping, that's a great way to illuminate the campsite. Those I managed to wire up wirelessly. So they're actually controlled by a wireless remote. Which I think is pretty cool because that allows me when I'm sleeping in the back of the truck, if I'm hearing something kind of creepy outside, I can trigger the wireless remote and those lights light up the night and shine a light on whatever's giving me the heebie-jeebies. And really cool too, the wireless system I hooked this up to is actually kind of compatible with like garage door openers. So I was able to program each of these lights to the 4Runner factory garage door openers. So it's almost like having OEM factory light switches just in the garage door openers, which I think is pretty cool. I also have little red plastic covers that go over this because at night, red light is much better for your night vision than white light. So I put the red covers on there at camp, and then I'm not destroying my night vision. Now, these are all mounted to a rack on the roof. I love this rack. It is made by Gobi. I had one on my previous 4Runner, my 3rd gen 4Runner. I loved it so much, I got one for my 5th gen. Great rack, absolutely love it. This is the stealth version that they make. Comes with a ladder for the tailgate, and I actually use this rack a lot in my architectural photography. So when I'm doing like retail centers or industrial buildings or something like that, oftentimes a higher vantage point can look a little better. And this allows me to shoot from, 12 feet in the air or so. And that's a nice feature. So the rack itself has some stuff attached to the top. Let's take a look at what we got up there. Okay, so up top here I basically have all my recovery gear. The stuff I use to help me get out of sticky situations. Right here I have Escaper Buddies. These are very similar to Max Tracks. They're the poor man's Max Tracks, let's be honest. Got these off Amazon. They're like half the price of Max Tracks. But if you get stuck in sand or mud or something like that, you can shove these under the tire and that helps you get out. These have come in handy, so I never really like to go off-roading without them. They're just held down with some bungees. I got some from Home Depot. I have gas here, extra gas. This is a Rotopax 3-gallon gas tank. I really love the Rotopax stuff because the mounting systems are super clean. It's just a nice, easy handle here. And really high quality gas tanks. The really thick wall plastic, and they never leak if you screw on the cap right. I've had them on my roof going from low elevations to high elevations, crazy, air pressure changes, and they'll balloon up and they'll shrink down, but they never leak. So really high quality stuff. I love Rotopax. And then I have 2 utility boxes here. Again, poor man's off-roading tricks. These are from Home Depot. These are just tool boxes. Again, held down with adjustable bungees, also purchased from Home Depot. And in this first box here, I just have tools, you know, the standard stuff, pliers, wrenches, socket wrenches, mallet, all that kind of stuff in case you need to fix something while you're out on the trail. Now the first box up front there, that's all of my tire care kit. So I have stuff to repair holes in a tire, but mainly I have my air pump in there. So like when I go off-roading, I like to air down my tires. It results in a much smoother ride and you can get better traction that way. So I have Coyote tire deflators, which I absolutely love. They're these tiny little things you just screw on the stem of your tires and pull a little ring and they start airing down to whatever amount you set to. I have mine set to 18, so I throw those puppies on, pull the rings, and my tires air down to 18 PSI. When I get back to the highway, I gotta air my tires back up because you shouldn't drive on the highway with low PSI. So I have my air pump in there, and that pumps me back up. So everything up here is really just kind of dirty gear to help me when I'm in a pickle, when I'm in a bind. Now on the side of the rack, I have a couple things, so let's take a look at those. So on the passenger side here, I have an axe and a shovel mounted to the rack. These are 2 items that are never a bad idea to have when you're camping. You know, the axe can really come in handy if you got a campfire going and you want to break up the wood a little bit smaller to last longer. You know, or if, I don't know, you have a branch in the way of your trail. The shovel is great for, you know, if you get your car stuck, try and dig yourself out or dig dirt into it to fill a hole. And also, shovel really comes in handy when you need to go see a man about a horse, as my uncles would say. That means taking a dump. This will let you dig your scat hole. On the driver's side here, I have one of my absolute favorite items, a Waterport. And this is basically portable pressurized water. And it's not permanently mounted to the rack. It slides right off, and with this handle, I can carry it around anywhere, get myself some pressurized water. This thing's so cool because it self-pressurizes. You hook it up to the hose right here and turn on the hose, fill it up. I think it holds like, I don't know, 3.5 gallons or something. And as it's filling, it's pressurizing. If it loses pressure for any reason, or maybe you have to fill it up from like a lake or a river, you can pressurize it with the pump up top here. And I love this when I go out to the desert because I often like to just rinse my head off. I get real sweaty and stuff, kind of take a little impromptu shower. This thing's great. And in fact, it even has a little mount that goes on the side here, and you can just attach the hose, leave it on, and it's like a shower on the side of your car. Really, really cool item. I even just take this down when I go down to the beach to hose off my feet, get the sand off before I get back in the car. So highly recommend a Waterport. Now on the back here, I have my ladder, which is also made by Goby. And this is very useful for getting up onto the rack when I'm doing my architectural shoots. But when I'm camping or off-roading, I generally use it to hold my trasheroo, which is basically just a canvas bag that attaches the back of your car to carry your trash home for you. Because, you know, when you're out camping, you're throwing away food and, you know, beverage cans and bottles. You don't want to keep that stuff in the car when you're driving home. Then the whole car will stink up. So this keeps it on the outside, which is great. It's got holes on the bottom so it can drain out if there's any, you know, leaking fluids. I also keep the Waterport stuff back here because it might leak water and won't get in the car that way. So simple invention, but I like it a lot. Helps keep the garbage out of my car, which is also my bedroom. So back on the driver's side again, I have one of those items that as soon as I bought it, I thought I should have bought this years ago. And that is a fridge. That's right, a bona fide fridge. This is a Dometic CFF 35, I believe is the model. And this thing's great, man. It stays cold all the time. I can even set it down to freezing. It could be a freezer all the time if I want.
Dometic makes several different models of portable fridge, including the more rugged CFX series, but I went with this CFF 35 because it was the perfect size, it was on super sale, and it has this awesome lid that can be opened from either side.
I used to do the cooler route. You know, I have a Yeti, which is a phenomenal cooler. I mean, it's overpriced, but it's a great cooler. But you know, any cooler, it's like day 1.5, thing's kind of useless. It's just a wet mess in there because all the ice is melted, or all your ice packs have warmed up, and then it's just kind of dead weight after that. But this stays cold all the time. So I keep in here, you know, my film. I got water, of course, food, and beers. Oh, beers, man. Gotta have beers. Actually, you know what? This sounds kind of good. Yeah. There's a reason I brought these. And I also have this little Yeti beer koozie. Got this for Christmas. This thing's great. It does keep things really cold. So this Dometic fridge is awesome, but it does need constant power, which brings me to my next item that when I bought it, I said, I should have bought this years ago. And that is a Goal Zero Yeti 500X. This is basically just a big portable lithium battery with a bunch of power outputs. I can do AC, DC, USB. This thing's great. But this is what's powering the fridge. And believe it or not, it can power it for a long time. This can keep the fridge going for probably, I don't know, 8, 10, 12 hours maybe, depending on how cold the ambient temperature is and how cold I have the fridge set. But you may be thinking, you know, even 12 hours is not enough for a full trip, and you're right. And that's why I have the Goal Zero being powered by the car when I'm driving. And then this is powering the fridge. And then when the car shuts off, this takes over and powers the fridge by itself. So I have an input here that runs all the way to the back of the car where there's a DC output. So when I'm driving, that's powering and charging the Goal Zero. And then this output here on the 12 volt is going to the fridge. So as soon as the car shuts off, the 12 volt keeps going and the fridge keeps going. So really cool setup, man. I haven't had this die once yet. I mean, as long as you get out and drive like once a day, this thing will get a little boost from the car's engine, and then the fridge will keep on going. So looking in from the back here, you can see I have a bed platform, and I actually did a separate video just on the bed platform. So if you want to learn more about that, check that out. I'll link that here. I have my memory foam mattress on top, and this is just a memory foam topper for like a standard mattress. And I always bring a regular pillow. I've tried camping pillows and they just suck. You gotta have a regular pillow. I used to do sleeping bags, and sleeping bags are okay, but what I found works way better is this down duvet. And this is a queen size down duvet with a duvet cover on it. And man, that is the way to go. That's kept me warmer than any sleeping bag I've ever had. Basically what I do is I fold it in half and then fold it in half again. So then I have kind of a little taco in there. And I just wedge myself in there like the cute little carnitas that I am. And I'm snug as a bug at night. So that's a great way to go. I recommend that over a sleeping bag personally. Feels more like sleeping in a real bed when you do it that way. Underneath I have this tray that pulls out, as I covered in the bed platform video. This is actually factory from Toyota. So this actually came with my Toyota Trail Premium. And I got all my 6x17 gear here, and my tripod, of course, and then just two Tupperware boxes. These are by Hefty. I really like these ones because they have a little extra space over the top. I always end up overfilling Tupperware, so having some extra space in the lid accounts for my misestimation of where the lid's gonna land. And one box is basically, you know, food and everything related to food. It's got freeze-dried food, stove, matches and stuff to light the stove, fuel for the stove, everything like that. So that's kind of my my kitchen box. And then this other box is basically miscellaneous stuff. One thing I have in here that's really important if you're solo camping is a battery jumper. So this is actually a device that will jump my car if the battery's dead. You might think, oh, shouldn't the Goal Zero Yeti do that? But it can't. This can. And this is actually smaller, which I know seems kind of weird, but it has to do with cold crank amps. It's not purely whether it can power a fridge or not. To actually jump a car, you need something like this that's made for that. And of course, paper towels, TP. Can never have too much TP. That's all my storage. I really don't bring a whole lot. I've really tried to pare down my camping supplies, so it's just the stuff I need, and I'm not bringing a whole bunch of extra crap that I don't end up using. And those two Hefty boxes fit everything I need nicely. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little walkthrough of my camping gear setup. I don't know about you, but I think it's time to go take some photos. So I kind of lied. I'm not really like out camping right now. I just went up Saddleback Mountain, which is the tallest mountain overlooking Orange County. I'm actually in a cool spot right here. I can see into Orange County that way, Riverside County right there. So we're right in the peak between them. And I want to shoot the marine layer here. The marine layer is coming in heavy from the coast. That's the overcast layer that comes in because of the ocean. And it looks really cool. It's like just this big blanket over all of Orange County right now. But I had to get into kind of a weird, precarious position here to get off the road and to get up a little bit. So kind of a weird spot, but it'll do. Now I'm using my Fuji 400 millimeter f8. This is kind of a strange looking lens. It's a telephoto lens, which means the bellows extension is actually less than 400 millimeters at infinity. So it's less than the focal length at infinity. I don't use this lens very often because it's just ultra telephoto. And you know, it serves a purpose and doesn't always suit every scene. But here, I think it's gonna suit me nicely. So I'm going for kind of a surreal composition here, where it's just the cloud cover in the sky and the shadows underneath the clouds. No mountains. I don't want any sense of scale or place or anything like that. I just want just those clouds. I think it's going to be real interesting, real soft color palette, real soft tones, very muted, but it's actually such soft contrast that I'm going to have to pull a little more contrast out of my film by pushing it. So shooting Kodak Portra 160, and I'm going to push it one stop in processing to increase the contrast. And after that, I may do a roll of Provia reversal film because that'll have more contrast on its own. So it'll be cool to see both if I get the time. So I'm going to be doing f22 smack dab in the middle of the apertures for this lens at 1/30th. Okay, here we go. Man, the color's gorgeous. So soft and soothing.
Well, I'm sure glad I pushed the film because I definitely needed that extra contrast. In fact, even with pushing it, I still had to boost contrast a bit when scanning it, just by putting a bit of an S in the tone curve. Now this first frame here I think is good, but it's not quite what I was visualizing. I wanted something a little more ethereal, a little more abstract, something with less connection to reality. I think the lighting on this one, along with the clearly defined edge of the clouds in the foreground, just feels a little too realistic.
Really wish Kodak would make the numbers on the back of the film bolder or something. It's damn hard to see. Okay, last frame of Portra. Okay. That's kind of a tough photo. The composition, the colors are so subtle, I'm not even really sure it's going to look like much. But hopefully pushing the processing will add enough contrast to bring out the finer details.
This is much more what I had in mind. Soft, dreamy, a bit abstract with elements kind of blending together and the viewer losing all sense of place. It creates a more surreal sensation, which is what I was after. Looking at it now, it kind of feels like I'm on some transcendental trip, flying through the upper atmosphere atop a white dog dragon named Falkor. That's right, Falkor. Never-ending story. Google it. This composition and the pastel color palette are very much influenced by a digital artist I admire. His Instagram feed is SR4Mica, and he creates these surreal, retro wave-inspired digital renderings that are just incredible. I love art like this that completely transports my mind to another place. I legitimately want to live in one of his creations. When I was taking this photo, I had a few of his recent works in the forefront of my mind, and I think you can pretty easily see the influence here.
Fuji coming in hot with the bolded numbers. Love it. Easy to see. So I've loaded up a roll of Fuji Provia, which in the past I always called it Provia, which is obviously wrong. It's professional, Provia. I know that now. But we're getting some sunset colors. It's flaring up a bit. I normally don't like super high color stuff, which is why I didn't do Velvia. But I think the Provia is going to give me some extra contrast, which will be good. It'll create some more separation on things. It'll be a very different photo from the Portra. The Portra is soft, delicate, airy color palette. This is going to be much more bold because of the higher contrast. And I threw on a warming filter because I think the clouds are going to come out too blue otherwise. But I will, of course, try it without the warming filter after I do the warming filter. F22 and a third, which, what is that, F25? Maybe, 25? At half a second. Alrighty. Okay, I'm gonna do that exact same shot, but without a warming filter. Okay, filter out. Boom, boom, and boom. All right.
Starting with the version where I used a warming filter, you can see that reversal film serves up much deeper colors and contrast. For my style of work, and especially for this composition, I think the look is a little too standard, I guess. What I mean by that is that the film doesn't leave much room for interpretation. It faithfully and accurately reproduces what was real, rather than providing some sort of artistic departure from reality in terms of color and contrast. These days, I generally prefer a look that allows me to inject some more of my artistic license into the final result. Now, the non-filtered version with its cool tones is a bit more pleasing in my opinion. By the way, the warming filter I used on the previous shot is a Lee 81B plus CC10R combination filter. I know that's a mouthful, but the 81B just means it has an amber tinge to reduce blue tones, and the CC10R means it also has a red color-correcting aspect to it, which reduces green and cyan. Now, the filter eats up a third stop of light, so I was sure to account for that change between these two exposures. After the roll of Provia, I managed to fire off one more roll of Kodak Portra and brought home this final shot. You can see what a different look you get with print film over reversal film. And I think this image here might be the ultimate winner for me. I like the simplicity of the composition in clouds and the softness of the colors. If it's not first place, it's certainly a close second to the frame I was praising earlier. Either way, one of them suits my visualization plenty well, so I felt this outing was a success.
Okay, I think that'll about do it. Thanks for coming along with me on this camping gear walkthrough. Do hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.